How's it going, everyone? This is Will from Nifty Method back with another live stream with our awesome team. Today, we're talking about why you should choose a marketing agency and some of the points on how you choose one. Today, we have Lindsay and Gina from our team, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves a little bit.
So I'm Lindsay. I'm the CEO of Nifty Method.
I'm Gina. I'm the product marketing manager of Marketing Orchard, and this is my first live stream. So hello.
It's been a growing process for all of us. So I'm going to just jump right into it, guys. One thing I wanted to ask, right? We see so many small businesses and so many just like enterprises that where do you see a lot of companies making mistakes when they're choosing an agency?
You know, it's funny because we were having this conversation with one of our project managers not 30 minutes ago, resourcing, right? Especially pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, trying to figure out how many humans I need to do the thing to ensure that the work gets done and it gets done well. And everyone always laughs at me when I say, how many humans, right? Because it really is like, are they full-time FTEs? Are they part-time FTEs? Are they contract? Are they freelancer? Are they some guy I just met on the street who looks like he has killer logo skills and we've brought him in? And I mean, Gina, one of the things you were talking about earlier today is like all of the different steps that goes into something that seems so simple, like a logo, but there's market research, there's figuring out everyone sitting at the table, and then there's QCing it, and not only like the actual doing of the work. So I think when you're looking at, do I need an agency? Should I hire an agency? The bigger question is, what problem am I actually trying to solve for? Is it the work I need to have done from a creative services perspective not happening fast enough? Is it not happening at a high enough quality? And where are the resources I can do with the right now, right on budget, short term, long term? That's where I feel small business owners, there's no roadmap. We're like guessing, and having different resources at our fingertips allows us to answer that question in the moment, rather than feeling like we've married a solution that we then just have to like put each step forward and go, well, we put a ring on it. This is going to have to work for the long term. I don't know. Like, that's my perspective. What do you think, Gina? As you've been talking and been inside the agency, you think small business owners were struggling with?
So I think a lot of it too is just, not knowing where to start would be a big one. I know a lot of small business owners that just kind of started winging it on their own and not having any sense of direction really. And I think an agency, whether it's big or small, can help direct them in at least starting points, whether it's strategy, logo building, of course, and anything else in between, website help. I think it's important to have some type of knowledge behind it, because if you kind of are just lost, it's easy to lose your sense of self as a business and what you're really trying to accomplish when you don't really know where to start.
Yeah, and all small businesses are so different where it's really a case-by-case basis. So working with an agency, at least you get someone that can go right to the problem for you. It's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of deal when you're working with an agency. Everybody has different problems going on in their organization. And that kind of going off that, what should we talk about all these businesses that we meet with? Some are not don't know the direction they want to go in, but what are some key points that businesses could have prior to meeting with an agency?
I think really setting realistic expectations is important. A lot of the time they expect it to be a very simple task for an agency, just come in and fix it right away. Whereas there's a lot of steps in between that have to be taken before you can get to the end goal. And a lot of the time the end goal, it's not really just an ending, oh, we're done. It's like an ongoing, continuous thing that you have to work on all the time and be willing to do so. It's not something that's just going to be fixed like that.
Now, I love that too, because strategy scares the hell out of most people, right? And it's one of these things where it feels like it's going to be this extremely long, complicated conversation. And especially like if you're a small business owner, strategy seems like something that's so far away because you're just trying to make it to the next day or the next week. Your point, Gina, about we can't just fix it. We are talented as an agency for a lot of things. We bring expert skills to help you do the stuff that you need to do and help you think through the things you need us to help you do. But you are going to have to tell us a little bit about you. And it's so interesting when people come to us and be like, well, I can only work with a healthcare agency because you know our space. I'm like, yeah, but what kind of facility are you? Are you a medical device company? Are you a small hospital, a large hospital, a hospital system? Do you serve the front line? Are you working in particular for like on a floor? Are you pediatric? Are you neurological? Like, where are you in the grand scheme of healthcare? And that's one of the questions that the reason we ask so many questions, and the reason that most agencies lead with strategy first when you're coming with them to solve a problem, is because we want to do the right thing and not the quick or easy thing. And I think that's why the marketing orchard, Gina, what I've been excited to see as you all have been developing the product line is it really does have it. Maybe you've already taken that time and invested in a strategy and you just need to do the plan. And you're like, I just need a logo. Here's the plan, right? Or it has something where they can chat and just come in and be like, I have a couple of questions. Where should I start? And being able just to click the button and get to that next step. I don't know. For me, like we were talking about at the staff meeting earlier today, things like Canva, where I can just go in and do. As a small business owner, gives me so much freedom. And not to toot our own horn, but as an agency owner, some of the things we solve at the Nifty Method level, as a small business owner or nonprofit or association, depending on the size and the scope of what you're doing, you don't need that. You just need to do. And the orchard lets us do that. I don't know. What are you hearing as I sit there and chatter?
I think it just makes it more approachable, because I think sometimes when people hear the word agency, and especially as a small business, they get a little scared. Like, is it going to cost me a lot of money? How is it going to hurt my bottom line at the end of the day? Am I going to be able to afford it and also pay my employees? So there's a lot of things that go involved in. Some of my friends are small business owners haven't jumped on that bandwagon to hire an agency because of that. And I think making it just more, not just affordable, but just approachable, and show it in just very simple terms, like, hey, if you just need this, we can do that for you, instead of having to go through lots of steps that some other agencies might make you go through to try to upsell you on services that you may not need. But there's also offering the things that we think might help at the same time, without trying to sell something that may not be of value.
That brings up a question for me. I'm taking Will's interview away from him.
Go for it.
Brief thing. Like, I keep hearing about the creative brief as part of the process, because as an agency, we live and die by the creative briefs. Is that something that at the orchard you're seeing a need for creative briefs to be a part of, the process of how it works to help small business owners be successful?
I think it's important it goes back to, expectations and having those conversations of what they really envision. And since we do offer, we want to have those conversations by having them fill out all the information that we could possibly gather. Normally what you gather from fact finding from an agency, we're still getting that key information that we need to be able to build whatever it is that they need, logo, website, whatever. But in a more consumable manner, instead of it feeling so overwhelming, I think is the different approach.
Right. The who, what, when, where, why of the thing I need to do.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Going back to what Gina was saying before, with like, sometimes it can be, as a small business, it can be intimidating to like go to an agency. Sometimes you're going pre-pandemic, you're going to this big office building and you're meeting all these different people. And that's why having a smaller agency is so much more approachable. I want to get your guys' opinion. Like, does size matter when it comes to an agency? And like, do you think that a big agency comes with a bigger price point?
I'll let Lindsay start that one.
I think the answer here is it depends. Some agencies do charge more money, right? I mean, if I'm thinking of Clay, which is a UI UX agency out of San Francisco, they work with some of the biggest names in software. And some of the problems that they're solving for are completely unknown. The box doesn't exist yet, and they're creating the box that it lives in and helping the user find the best path forward. When you are breaking ground like that, there are certain things, if you've got a lot of complexity, you've got a lot of nuance, you've got a lot of, it has to be just this fit. You are going to pay more money per hour because, the agency math is you're not just paying for one person at the $3.50 an hour dollar rate that you might do the math out for, right? You're paying for someone to coordinate those conversations inside, to coordinate those conversations outside, to keep track of the many, many details it takes to move a project of that size and scope forward, to ensure that you've got the right talent. And sometimes it's not just one talent, it's multiple talents, right? So that 350 could be supporting a team of like 10. And I think that's one of the conversations that as a small business owner, they're confronted with these prices and the explanations aren't really there. We tried, on our blog, we do a lot of that. Like, what are the agency titles? What's an account manager versus a strategist versus, a growth coordinator? There's so many different names. We have our own vocabulary, and you're like, I just want to sell flowers. I don't care. Like, do the thing. And so that it depends piece, educate yourself as a small business owner and like ask questions. Just because it's an on-demand agency like what Gina's working with The Orchard, or it's a much more subjective piece with Nifty Method where we're coming in and we're scoping and creating this new project together. At each point, the company is still made up of people, right? I always say it's like dating. You need to go with the agency you feel comfortable with. You don't have to marry us. You can date them, but like you wouldn't date someone you don't like. You wouldn't hang out and spend what will be an enormous amount of time, y'all. Like, you're going to be on a first name basis, and they're going to know about your kids, your pets, whether or not those free range chickens in your backyards are actually free range. Like, it's important to have that kind of relationship, because you also need to be able to say things like, Gina, that's ugly. I don't want that. Right? And Gina has to be able to say back to you, cool, I'm glad you think that's ugly. Your like audience is going to love it. And that's the dialogue. And so the it depends piece is sometimes it is expensive, but when you're thinking about cost, what is the cost in the grand scheme of things? Am I paying for something that's going to last me for 10 years? Am I paying for something that's going to last me for 10 minutes? And what is the value of that 10 minutes to that 10 years? And how am I attaching, that price to it? Because cash flow is a reason that we all kind of take pause from a agency perspective. I don't want to pay for that, but if I do a video that's going to allow me to tell our story more effectively, and I don't have to be on every phone call with Will out there as he's telling our agency story, that is in essence me gaining a time lottery of multiple hours and multiple more business that my business can then have. So, you have to think about it in a system, I think, approach when you're thinking time value, which, I don't know, Will makes fun of me with my long roads to a tiny house, but that's a long answer to it depends and where you should go. What do you think, Gina?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's all about providing value and seeing that value in it. For example, when you buy a home, if it's a high dollar amount, but it's kind of falling apart, is it worth it? But is it a low dollar amount and it's a fixer upper and you can build that value, then you see the worth. It's all kind of like, it's an eye of the beholder type of thing. Where do you see that value?
You're better. You painted a picture with like visuals. This is why you're the creative person and I'm the strategy marketing automation. I like that.
I try. But yeah, relating it to anyone, I keep going back to any of my friends that are small business owners that were car salespeople or they were receptionists before and they're starting their own business and have no knowledge of kind of the real steps to build their audience and building a future for them. And just knowing that, from humble beginnings, you can always relate it back to something that you know more about. And really being able to figure out what does value mean to you and kind of going from there.
And so it's really impressive in the meeting, right? Because you'd be like, I worked with this agency and they were impressive.
Yeah, going off that relationship analogy we were using, what are the traits you guys look for in an agency? If you were looking for an agency, what traits would you be looking for? Are we looking for blue eyes or brown eyes?
You first, Gina.
I want, if I'm thinking of just more basic things, I'd want to know their track record and do my own research on them. Whenever I buy something more than, $100, I want to know what I'm getting, and I read reviews like no other. But mostly just being able to build that bond with them and feeling like they really do care about my business and what I want to accomplish and feeling heard. When I feel like I always go back to this, but when I used to sell cars, that was my favorite thing, being the salesperson, was really listening to those person's needs and just hot buttons, I guess is what you would call it, and trying to relate that to whatever it was. And even if it meant that, getting a car right now wasn't it, I wanted to be as honest as possible. And I think a lot of people really appreciated that. Just being like, hey, maybe you're not ready for this, but in a month when you get here, I think this would be really beneficial to you for XYZ. And just having those real conversations, because we're all people at the end of the day. And I like helping people. So however I can do that in a most honest way, I think people appreciate that the most. And I want that in whoever I work with long term.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's my number one rule, both, internal, external stakeholders, no assholes. Like, don't take advantage of us. That's one of the biggest things about agencies is you have to have your person. And for me, it really is. I'm so analytical in the rest of my world. But when I'm looking for an agency partner that I'm going to work with, especially because I am an agency, yes, we do work with other agencies to do some of our things because though we're good at a lot, sometimes we're too close to it. We were having a conversation yesterday about a new video series we're looking to produce. We have video people, but it's not necessarily something that we need to be in control of because there's not an objective eye that can stand aside and be like, that was great, but you need to do another take because you rambled. Stop it. Stick to the script. And sometimes it's tough to have that kind of feedback if you are managing your own piece. And I think it's a question, especially as a small business owner, you face and confront multiple times because it is sometimes cheaper to do it yourself, right? But is the quality what you're getting? And that agency partner, it's the mirror that holds up to it. That's what I'm looking for, is someone who's not intimidated by the fact that I'm the CEO of a company. That person comes in and they just see me as someone who wants to accomplish this thing, who has my goal right there focused for them and is ready to take action and help me get there. Because sometimes I need a lot of help and I need you to over-explain it. And the same things that drive us crazy from an agency perspective with the clients is we translate that on because all of us understand and parse information differently. So having a human who can talk to me on human terms, that is far and above a gut intuition feeling that though case studies will tell me quite a bit and references will tell me a little bit more, you have your point of view, the client's point of view, and the actual point of view. We've done some amazing implementations and the client is hung up on this one piece. And so though all of the rest of it was 99 to 100%, that one piece colors the entire experience. That's going to weigh in when I'm talking to you and I want your references and case studies. But I also want to know, are you going to talk to me in the room and treat me like I'm the most important person? Are you going to really listen to what I asked you to accomplish for us from a business perspective? Or are you going to insert your stuff on top of it? And are you going to help me get to where I need to go, even if sometimes I put up roadblocks in your way and you're like, for real, just do it already, right? That's the sign of a great agency partner, is someone who works and grows and scales with you and has enough sense to walk away if you're really being unreasonable, because sometimes you need to hit rock bottom and they can't enable you.
I think that kind of ties into being held accountable. And I personally love accountability and having somebody hold that to me. Whether it's at work, having a workout buddy that makes you go 3 times a week. Before I got hurt, I had that and I loved it. Because sometimes you don't see exactly how you can be your own just roadblock.
Yeah.
And so having somebody else say, no, we need to get to here and this is how we do it, is a huge help instead of just doing it all on your own sometimes.
Yeah. So. Which, bringing you back to that original question Will had of freelancer, agency, internal staffer, right? The agency partner out of all 3 of those is going to be your most objective human, because it's a running joke in the industry, right? You hire the consultant so you can throw them in front of the bus. And if they are not willing to be thrown inside the bus, they are not the right agency partner. Their first job is to take care of you and make sure your ish gets done, right? From a freelancer, you're going to find it in some of them, but it's a different relationship because they're serving many masters and there's all sorts of other loyalty questions.
Right.
An agency, there's just a little bit more that leans in. And finding that and the right one, gosh, that's a lifetime partnership that we wouldn't want to give up with some of our partners.
Yeah, going back to your previous point, it's something that we tell all of our potential clients, like, if we can't give you what you need, we want to see you succeed at the end of the day. So if it's not with us, then we know tons of other people that we can suggest you to. We're not the type of agency where we're gonna like take your project just because we want the money. It's more, we want to see your project succeed, and if that means giving you to someone else that can better help you, then that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I would much rather have my name on something I'm proud of, and being part of that agency, I want everything we put out to be something to be proud of. So if we can't do it, I want someone else to be able to have that same feeling too.
So ask that question, small business owners. Ask them, can you recommend 2 competitors we should go and vet you against? If they pretend like they're the only humans or the only agency that can serve you, they're not the right agency partner because they don't have enough awareness of their space. Like, we always go, are you sure we're the only ones you want to look at? Like, we want to make sure that you're looking around because everyone needs choices. We think you'll work with us because we're amazing, both the Orchard and Nifty, but like, it's okay. There's enough pie for all of us. And sometimes the skill set you are searching for, the strategy need, the tactical need, the creative service need, that doesn't lie within one place. And it's all right to have a system of partners rather than one partner and unrealistic expectations to do it all.
Yeah, and even from an agency point of view, we want you as a client to be all in on working with us. Like, if you have doubts and you want to maybe look at other agencies, we want you to check that out and make sure you're all in on working with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And going back towards Gina here, how do agencies help small businesses? I know we talk about how small businesses can sometimes be hesitant to work with agencies because a lot of times that means a lot of money. How does like the Marketing Orchard play into that, helping small businesses?
I think it can help in a multitude of different ways, but I think sometimes small business owners, especially when they're starting out, have all of these ideas and they're just all over the place. And I think we can just kind of help tie them in and make sense of it. Whereas if you're doing it on your own, I know that I've had those moments where I'm just going from point A to point C to Z and just all over the place. But when you have somebody else sitting there that has a strategic type of mind and will put it in order for you, it'll make a lot easier and a lot faster than having to do it on your own, but just being able to have a concrete plan to be able to set forth for you. And I think it's important to have that foundation because without that, you're just not going to succeed.
So Gina, answer a question for the audience at home. Is the Marketing Orchard an agency or a collective of freelancers?
That's a great question. I would like to say that we're not freelancers because we care about each and every project as it's our own and we're the only one. And we have a team that works on it for you and you stick with one designer. And I think it's kind of hard because some people get afraid of the word agency and freelancer. At the end of the day, we're here just to help you. So however you view us, whatever is in that good regard, where you either believe that we're an agency and you have that stability, or a freelancer that you feel like, okay, well, I have them if I need them. Wherever your comfortability is, that's where we want to be.
I love that.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of, we have that
big agency experience where you have
kind of a mixture of both, where it's
a project base.
Yeah, more approachable and just being able to say, hey, I need help with this really quick, instead of having to go through all the steps and having to spend more than maybe you didn't think you needed to because it's something you think is simple, which sometimes it's not always that simple, and we can always guide you that way. But I think it's important to just keep it as something that is always approachable for all, whether you're big or small.
I like it. On-demand creative for the small business needs without the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Going towards Nifty, how do you feel that like an agency like Nifty benefits businesses? It doesn't have to be just small businesses, but.
I mean, the power of Nifty, one of the reasons we started the Marketing Orchard was to give that more inside the box, on-demand solution. Nifty's whole joy is finding the method in your madness. Many businesses, from startup to enterprise, you're struggling with some big decisions. Like the webinar that we're doing on the 26th is continuing to talk about the uncertainty for your brand, right? Your marketing, your creative, your events, your strategy, whether you're in charge of the whole enchilada or just a single point in the division, there's lots of moving pieces right now. And there is an acceptance in our design thinking, which is what the Nifty method is based in. That's really, we start with the why. The empathy of the participant who's going to be using the thing that you want, the client that you, the business or the brand is serving. And we walk it back because sometimes, as brands, we can get too wrapped up in what's important for the business. And though we're all capitalism first, even you nonprofits, because it's just a tax status, right? I think the value of coming back to it, and really what's been fascinating over the last 16 to 18 months is seeing how much the participants of the world are saying, this is what we want. We know you think Tiger King is trashy TV, but we're stuck at home. Please let us watch more of that. And, it's fascinating to watch how that unfolds. And I was looking at a Steve Jobs quote, which I hate to quote Steve Jobs because he was overblown in so many ways, but it's like we hire smart people to tell us what to do, not to tell them what to do. And it's the same thing in many ways when you partner with an agency. The smart people in the room are your clients. They're the people you're serving, right? And so the agency and our clients, that tiger team of moving it forward, we want to solve for them. And it's great because it can be this whole ecosystem you build for 3 months, 3 years, 30 years, and just keep solving for the problem that the participant puts in your way. Why is this good? Why isn't this good? What else can we do to make it better? And what does that look like from a short-term, long-term perspective? And so that's what Nifty really grapples with, is the design of the thing you're solving for and trying to get you from idea to execution. Whereas the Orchard, there's so many different things that just need to happen right now, right? You may not have time to suss it through from that like esoteric philosophical approach. And so that's a really great opportunity rather than mess with a Fiverr or a Pingy. You can just find the thing, find the solution. And then as your business matures or as you get a little bit more time and space to come back and be like, all right, we're ready to tackle that. You can float on back up to Nifty. And because it's all essentially one company, you can go to the right place. And we already know enough about you where we don't have to spend as much time going, well, tell us more about you in healthcare. What is this? What are you trying to do, right? There's groundwork laid. And so that's the difference. We are freelancers for you. We work on a project basis, but then you come back in and there's already this infrastructure that you've unknowingly built that we just say, well, no, you're here. You fit. Let's figure that out. And that's the power of an agency, big or small, is finding your place inside of it and having them really help you solve those problems.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of the time people will see things being uncovered that they didn't even know existed, and someone bringing it to the forefront for them can just be all the difference.
Yeah. Going off that, we work on a project by project basis, or sometimes we do other contracts and stuff like that. Why don't you explain for everyone kind of the difference between, maybe something like a retainer versus like a project by project basis?
Sure. So, inside our ecosystem of an agency, there's what we call 4 different levels, right? At the highest level of engagement, there's a retainer. You wouldn't have a retainer with the Orchard, you'd have it with Nifty. That means we are essentially a part of your team every month. There's a specific scope of work called an SOW that we come in that we've agreed upon, and we do the things to make your brand be awesome, right? On the next step down from that, that's kind of an extended program. So you see this sometimes with CRM or marketing automation implementations, migrations, a new like brand identity, creative design. You want to come in and change the face of what you're doing. With our events business, you want us to come in and produce your user conference. You want us to do your board meeting, right? It's a long term, over 6 to 9 months, where we come together and we partner, but it's not something where there's like this massive agreement where we're friends for, in perpetuity. The next step down is just project basis. You have a thing you needed to solve. You want Nifty to do it because it was already, maybe we worked with you on one of those big projects and we're coming back in. And we already have familiarity, so there we are. And then the very last one is the orchard, right? You go and you pick the fruit you need. And that's the easiest way, is just because it's like click and go. And that's nice to have because you don't have to go up and down, but you have the availability of going up to down if you want. Retainers aren't scary. Retainers are stability for us and for you. From a business perspective, it allows us to plan work, resourcing, cash flow. Same thing for you. You know exactly how much it's going to cost month to month. We know exactly what's inside the scope of work from a capabilities perspective that you're looking for. That gray zone of the other three options is where sometimes it can be really challenging for an enterprise or a small business. So we encourage you to think around these contracts and be creative with them. A contract doesn't have to be something horrifying. It can be something empowering if you really think about it. But if you're not ready for it yet, then find these smaller solutions and build those relationships with groups like the Orchard, because then you have them when you are ready to scale up.
And I think it goes back to, setting those expectations when you're on retainer. It's nice to be able to, you can have those open conversations. Okay, this is what we can do within this time frame, and they already know. And what's nice about on demand too, if they don't really have a plan necessarily yet, we have that opportunity for them to still get some stuff done until they get to that point. And it's nice to be able to offer both and just give both on-demand services for logos. Maybe they needed their website built and they just are struggling doing it, upwards to the large projects that come as you build as a business. So it's nice to have a range.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have a range. And retainer, sometimes it's like a scary word for people. It's like, oh, it's forever. And it's like, no.
Usually, I think. And that's
scary. Exactly. And that's always, it's never a good time when you're seeing your lawyer.
That's true.
All right. That's all we had for today, everyone. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to How to Pick an Agency. And thank you to Lindsay and Gina from our awesome team for coming and speaking with us. Make sure you check out the Marketing Orchard for our current services and offerings. Thank you.
Love to see you there. Bye. Thank you.